This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 153. Sabari Raja, co-founder and CEO of Nepris, joins us to talk about content marketing for the classroom. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is December 17th, 2015. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just a reminder, we are live on iTunes and on Stitcher, so if you're listening to this episode on the blog, you can click on over and subscribe. And if you use a different app for your podcast listening pleasure, we also have an RSS feed, and I will provide that link in the blog post. To learn more about content marketing, I invite you to download our free audio, 5 Things You Must Know About Content Marketing. To get your copy, just go to contentmarketingaudio.com. Just a couple of things before we get rolling. I want to give a shout out to a listener named Lisa. She sent me a lovely message on LinkedIn just a couple of days ago. She had been in the process of making a career shift from journalism when she discovered this podcast. She said she listened to it for about 3 months as she conducted her job search, and she told me that it really helped her get up to speed on content marketing and, more importantly, gave her the confidence that she needed to go after a job in this field. Well, lo and behold, Lisa starts her new job as a community manager this week. She is over the moon excited, and she wrote me just to say thank you, to say thank you for the podcast. Lisa, believe me, the pleasure is all mine. And I think I speak for all of us when I say congratulations on your new adventure. We wish you all tremendous success, and please do keep us posted. Let us know how you're doing. Love these stories from around our community, guys. Keep them coming. Okay, one more thing, a modest request. Last week, I submitted an application to speak at Content Marketing World 2016. Now, if you're not familiar with Content Marketing World, it's a huge event, probably the biggest in the content marketing industry, sponsored by the Content Marketing Institute. And you may recall Joe Polizzi has been a guest on this podcast several times. So I've applied to speak there in the past, and this year I have a good feeling about it. So if you are so inclined, I ask you to send me some good vibes in the direction of Cleveland, Ohio on my behalf. And, if you want to do something a little bit more proactive, I can tell you that their Twitter ID is @CMI Content, and the conference hashtag is #CMWorld. Do with that information what you will. Okay, on to business. Last week, we had a terrific conversation with Shelley Roth, who joined us to chat about her new book, Give to Grow: 9 Principles for Conscious Business, Social Media, and Life. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or Stitcher or via the RSS feed. This week, we are thrilled to welcome another expert. Sabari Raja, the co-founder and CEO of Nepris, will join us to talk about how her company connects industry experts with classrooms. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Got some pretty cool news coming out of Twitter to kick off this week's news feed. Twitter is improving the visual experience by uncropping photos. So it used to be when you would upload a photo to share, and Twitter would crop it for the purpose of showing up in people's news feeds, and then they would see the whole photo if they clicked on it. And some of those crops were kind of awkward. I remember one of my, I have a client who's in the conference industry, and we would tweet out a photo of a speaker, and the cropped version, you'd get a really nice shot of his tie. It would completely cut off his face. Well, Twitter is cropping no more. Now your followers will see the complete photo in their news feeds. And also Twitter is introducing a larger and more attractive multi-photo display. So remember, you can upload up to 4 photos to share in a single tweet. Before, they just kind of showed up in a 4-pane panel, and it was it was okay, just wasn't terribly interesting. Now the first photo will show up quite large, that will be as a featured photo, and then the other three will show up as thumbnails to the side. It's a much more attractive, and I think a more visually engaging layout. So good news out of Twitter, especially for those of us who are leveraging the power of visual content. Okay, some news out of Facebook. Now, Facebook has been hard at work lately helping page admins to communicate better with their audiences. They've introduced that messaging feature that lets customers communicate directly with the Facebook page. And some other features. For example, a feature that launched this summer identifies pages. Sorry, dogs barking in the background. Identifies pages that are very responsive to messages. And they introduced a badge that is a very responsive to messages badge. And a page would receive this if their average response time to messages was 5 minutes or less. Well, now all pages can set average times for responding to messages and have that displayed on their very prominently on the page. So admins can choose to show that they respond either within minutes, within an hour, within hours, or within a day. And that time, so that will show up on the page. If the admin does not choose, the time shown on the page will default to the average response time, but the admins can always go in and control what shows up. So for example, if you usually respond to messages within 1 hour, you might want to give yourself a little wiggle room and say responds within a day, just to make sure that you're not putting undue pressure on yourself. So it's kind of a neat feature, and to me, from a big picture perspective, it really shows how powerful social media has become as a customer service tool. People just don't pick up the phone anymore. If they have a problem with the company, they default to the web, and more, instead of going to the company's website, they will go to social media. And I will say their expectations when it comes to response rates are pretty darn high. So moral of the story for us page admins, and for any business on social media, we need to be listening, we need to be responding, and we can't let messages sit there for days on end. We've got to get on the ball and get those messages responded to. Even if you're saying something like, hey, thank you for your message, we're looking into this issue, we don't have any information right now, please stay tuned. I mean, just something to let people know you're listening, you're aware, and you do care about their concerns. Okay, our content hit of the week is something a little different. Usually I highlight an article or a blog post or a video, but this week's content hit is an app. It's an online app called Riddle.com. That's Riddle. And Riddle is an interactive content creation tool. It lets you create your own polls, interactive lists, quizzes, and personality tests. And I got to know Riddle. It's so interesting how I come across these things. Alex, one of the guys who works over there, contacted me to comment on last week's blog post. I think it was on the Santa Claus as a content marketer blog post. And I responded, I said, thanks. I said, hey, I looked over at your website. It looks like a really cool tool. And his response said, well, hey, we took this blog post that you and I were talking about and turned it into an interactive list for you. It's kind of like an interactive slideshow. So very cool. And I will share the link to that slideshow in the blog post. But anyway, it's easy to use. I've toyed around with it a little bit, but I plan to do so when I have a little bit more time. And there is a free version, and there are also some premium options that let you unlock some more goodies. So again, do check it out. That URL is riddle.com. That's Riddle. That's it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please shoot it on over to us so that we can share. And clearly, Cooter's very excited about that idea. Okay, now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment. Sabari Raja, co-founder and CEO of Nepris, joins us to talk about content marketing for the classroom. Sabari Raja is the co-founder of fast-growing edtech startup Nepris Inc., a first-of-its-kind cloud-based platform connecting industry and education. She has worked in education technology for 18 years, leading product and content strategy, business development, publisher relations, and emerging market growth strategies. She is passionate about working with educators to translate their needs into scalable technology solutions. She is on the Champions Board of Texas Girls Collaborative and has a special interest in engaging girls in STEM. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. Sabari has an undergraduate degree in electrical engineering from India, master's in computer science from Louisiana State University, and an executive MBA from Cox School of Business, SMU. She lives in Austin, Texas, and is also a busy mom with 2 boys in elementary school. Without further ado, here's our interview with Sabari Raja. Hi, Sabari. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rachel. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Well, I just gave our audience your official bio, but can you give us a little bit more personal introduction about who you are and what you do?
Yes. I'm first a mom of 2 boys, 8 and 10. I live in Austin, Texas. I am co-founder and CEO of Nepris. Nepris is an education technology company. We are a cloud-based platform that helps connect industry professionals virtually into classrooms. Our mission is to inspire the next generation towards careers that they never knew existed, while giving companies and individuals an opportunity to build their brand.
Wonderful. And Sabari, how did Nepris come about? How did that idea first turn into what has become today?
Yeah, it just seems so long ago, but it was just 3 years back. I've always been from the education technology industry. So entire career I've been working closely with classroom teachers, trying to develop the right technology tools for the classroom. I was always involved in this conversation around the country on engaging students in STEM. I mean, most of you, I think, know about the STEM pipeline gap, right? There are not enough kids coming out of our colleges and high school ready to take these next generation of high-tech jobs. So I was always involved in these conversations across the country, specifically with the focus on engaging girls in STEM. And in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, being part of these conversations, there were lots of groups that were pulling industry leaders, school district leaders, nonprofits, universities, everyone together having these conversations about how do we bridge this gap between industry and education, right? I mean, what is in it for the companies? Why should they do that? Why would school districts want the support of industry? So there was I was involved in many of these conversations where it makes so much sense to connect industry and education, but there's really no easy way to do that. How does an average teacher in the classroom know how to reach out to the right industry professional who has the skills, right? So if you're an industry professional working for a company, how do you know which classrooms need your skills? So being part of these conversations, it was so obvious that there was such a huge need to bridge this gap between industry and education, but there was no technology platform that was bringing these 2 stakeholders together. So me, along with my co-founder, Binu, we both are very passionate about education. We're parents ourselves, and we come from a technology background, and I come from an ed tech background as well. So it just was sort of a confluence of all the stars aligning, and we were right at the right place at the right time.
Wonderful. And Sabari, I was reading on your website today, one big advantage of this platform is that students in rural areas who might not have access to engineers, they have that access they didn't have before.
No, absolutely. I think that is when we started, of course, our biggest goal was, how do we create a technology platform so we can scale? We want more industry professionals connecting with more classrooms. But today we see a huge number of rural school districts using our platform. I mean, it's natural, right? I mean, where would they go to connect with industry? Most of the rural communities have agriculture professions as an option. But today there's so many different options that most kids are unaware of. And rural schools have really been a great use case for Nepris.
Mm-hmm. Now, Sabari, as a writer, I'm fascinated with words and specifically with names. So can you tell us where the name Nepris came from?
Yes. So I do get asked this question a lot, and I have to say, the first goal for us was very practical. We wanted a .com domain, and in this day and age, to get a reasonable .com domain it's very hard.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we turned to Greek and Latin. And soon we found out that every Greek god is already in a tech company. So, so, so finally, we came across Nepri, which is the Lord of Sustenance in Greek mythology, which is your basic need. We just felt that it matched the purpose of the company. Giving that real world exposure to students should be a basic need. So,
Yep, absolutely.
yeah.
So, Sabari, can you give us a brief overview of exactly how the system works?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to simplistically put it, in this day of social platform for everything, you have Facebook to connect with family and friends, right? Similarly, you have a match.com to find a date. But we kind of are that social platform that's helping teachers match their classroom needs with skills of profession. So, for example, if I am a second grade teacher, teaching earth science in my second grade classroom, then traditionally you would just teach that topic, and you may even bring some rocks into the classroom, show your kids, yes, it's good, it's okay, but how exciting would it be if you were to virtually connect a geologist into the classroom so kids can actually have a live conversation, right? So that's exactly what Nepris does. Is we're creating a marketplace where classrooms can find these industry professionals, whether it's a geologist connecting with a second grade classroom, or whether it's an architect talking to a math classroom learning about ratios, whether it's a fashion designer that can talk about measurements, or it could be an automotive engineer talking about pneumatic devices. Whatever the topic is, creating relevance by connecting these two people virtually. That's really how Nepris works. So there are multiple ways. Either the classroom can initiate a request, like I said just now, and the system automatically takes that request and matches the skills of professionals who are already signed up to Nepris. Or we actually have an integration with LinkedIn where these classroom requests through Nepris gets posted on LinkedIn as well. So professionals, if you're on LinkedIn, can discover these opportunities and connect back into Nepris to identify a classroom who needs your skills. So either the classroom can initiate a request and we manage that end-to-end process of finding, matching, and virtually connecting a professional into the classroom. Or now, in the last couple of months, we've introduced some other features where most of the companies that we were working with were coming to us saying, I just don't want to sit around and wait for a teacher to put in a request, and which may or may not match my skills. I can go for a year and my skills never get matched, So now companies can proactively offer their skills. I mean, in the form of, for example, Samsung, Austin Semiconductors is offering chat with an aerospace engineer, Q&A with an electrical engineer, or we just had a really innovative wound healing technology lab in the San Antonio area that was offering a virtual field trip of their entire facility. Students cannot go into this building, right? So companies are now coming up with creative ways to engage their employees in the classroom, either through these Q&As and virtual chats or virtual field trips or virtual internships. So there's many ways that both these stakeholders are finding ways to connect and collaborate.
Absolutely. So Sabari, you're kind of a content matchmaker, if you will.
Yes, you could say that. Yes.
That's interesting, and it's interesting that you mentioned companies are they are often the ones making the first step because I remember back in the day where companies just kind of sat in their ivory towers and counted their profits, but it seems that there definitely is kind of a new breeze blowing in corporate America, and companies
Yes.
they want to be proactive, they want to be giving back.
Yeah, absolutely. I was at a conference, I think it was the corporate social responsibility person for SunPower, who was giving a keynote address or a speech, and she said something that stuck with me. It's basically doing well by doing good.
Mm-hmm.
And that just speaks volumes about where companies are going today, whether it's corporate social responsibility or employee retention, or you want good content for marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Today the traditional way of building your brand, in all this noise and data online, it gets lost.
Mm-hmm.
So companies are doing it for multiple reasons. One, of course, many of the high tech companies, they're sort of they are at the receiving end of not getting enough people coming out of the pipeline to fill these jobs, right? So that's one of the main reasons companies want to sort of give back and inspire the next generation. But the other thing is also, it's not just building your brand awareness among the next generation, but education is a huge care about for everybody, your clients, your customers, their parents or teachers, or they are a member of the society. So community outreach through education outreach is a great way for that companies are looking at to build meaningful content that they can share with their customers as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Shabri, you mentioned STEM a few minutes ago, and I noticed on your website you talk
Mm-hmm.
about how you focus on STEAM, which is
Mm-hmm.
science,
Yes.
technology, engineering, arts, and
Mm-hmm.
math.
Yes, yes, and I have to say, I was, when I started, I had a very STEM focus too, because my background is in engineering.
Mm-hmm,
Our co-founder is also an engineering background, and I worked in EdTech mostly with a STEM focus, but quickly the STEM is sort of evolving into STEAM, and this is something I always think about. There is really, when you say STEM, I don't know if this data, where I got this data from, but by 2020 or 2022, 70% of all jobs are going to be STEM jobs. So this
mm-hmm,
classification of STEM and STEAM, I hope it all just merges into one, right? But
mm-hmm,
today, if take for example, you're a journalist or you're in media production, right? There is a component of technology in it too.
mm-hmm,
You're acting or you're writing children's books. Today, a lot of books are published online, and there's an ebook component. So, for
mm-hmm.
every job that's related to arts, also has a technology component. So it's very hard to say this is purely arts and this is
Sure.
purely STEM.
Mm-hmm,
So we see a lot of that today. We started with a heavy STEM focus where we had engineers and scientists and high-tech people connecting into classrooms, but today actually we have a lot more arts. For example, one of our very successful partnerships is with the World Affairs Council.
mm-hmm,
So they are going in and offering topics like, how do you, what are the misconceptions about Islam or women's issues around the world? When I first saw that misconceptions about Islam, I'm like, I'm not sure which classroom would want to connect with this. But we did some social media, sharing after this session, because till today, that's the number one most attended session within Nepris. There were over 350 students that participated in that 30-minute session, all the way from middle school through high school, right? So it's I've been. Nepris has surprised me many times,
right.
in a great way. We have, exonerees who are on death row connecting with classrooms to talk about criminal justice and
Wow.
DNA evidence. We have the Forensic Science, National Association of Forensic Scientists, connecting with classrooms to talk about forensic science. So the parks and wildlife, the zoos, there's all kinds of, our life every day. It's very interesting.
Yes, yes, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
And Shabri, we talked a little bit about corporate partnerships, but you also partner with nonprofits and also universities.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. In fact, we're just starting to partner with a lot of the regional consortiums. I mean, we're learning as we are going. I mean, that's very typical for, a startup. I mean, when we started, the world was very black and white. There's industry and then there's education, right? But what we're seeing today is the STEM focus is such a national issue, anywhere from the White House that launched the US 2020 initiative to a small nonprofit here in Texas that's connecting, women engineers to classrooms. There's many consortiums that have formed in multiple regions. We work with the South Metro Salem STEM Hub in Oregon. We're just talking with, the Colorado Education Initiative, the California, Career Pathways Trust Group. So what these groups are doing is, for many years, they've already been forming coalitions of nonprofits, universities, community colleges, corporations, and K through 12 school districts in their region. They've already built the community, right? But we're just serving as a technology platform so that that community can thrive and make these connections possible. So,
So Shabri, what do you think is the power of a live interaction event as opposed to, say, an engineer recording a video that talks about how they became an engineer and why STEM is important?
yeah, so before Nepris, there are multiple video platforms of what does a day in the life of an engineer look like, and there's a video, which is perfectly fine. It's much better than kids not having that exposure, right? I mean, videos have a place today in the classroom, actually a huge place in the classroom. What we were trying to do is sort of look at the next generation of these interactions. Our most popular sessions, in fact, every single live connection, even if they say 45 minutes, it's only 15 minutes where 15 to 20 minutes where the professional gets to talk about either the topic that they've been invited to talk about or their career. Most of the time, the teacher and the students can't wait to get to the Q&A. Right? It's and you want to take a guess on what the first question is, no matter which industry you're from.
What's that?
How much money do you make? Yeah. So my younger one.
And do they answer?
And we always prepare them to answer, because most of the time, if they're not prepared, they're kind of taken aback, right? So we always say kind of, you don't have to give them your exact paycheck, but show them the exact paycheck, but tell them what is the starting salary for, jobs in your line, and what does that path look like? Okay, someone with 10 years experience could be making this much, someone, so we kind of guide professionals to answer those questions. But that by far, that's the most popular question, though.
That's funny. Yeah. That's funny. Shabri, something else I saw on your website is you posted a statistic that 57% of boys and 68% of girls who chose a high-tech career say they were inspired by one person, one event, or one class.
Yes. I think this statistic may have been from the Microsoft STEM Perception Study. That's such a powerful statistic. I mean, we always get asked, okay, virtual is not as good as in person, but the long-term one-to-one mentoring is more effective than this 30-minute chat with the classroom. What is this going to accomplish? Yes, in person is definitely very effective. And at the same time, the one-to-one mentoring where an adult is paired up with the student is also very effective. But what we're trying to do is not to replace those things, but to really work on that data and say, it does not take much for a child to be inspired to pursue something, right? And that data speaks volumes about the potential for exposing students to more opportunities in a short period of time, rather than have them just be focused on one thing. And that may not be the one thing that they want, right? But if they have a 30-minute sessions with 10 different career opportunities, then there is a very good chance that one of that may spark some interest. So that's why that data is so important for the mission of Nepris, is that we want to create many of these opportunities for as many students as possible to be exposed to that real world.
And Sabari, just to switch back to the presenter side for a moment, Nepris is absolutely free for companies to participate in, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And something I noticed is that you actually, you don't just say, okay, here's your time slot, here's how you log on. You actually help them prepare for these presentations.
Yes. In fact, we often get asked, okay, yeah, I mean, what is the fill rate? Meaning, like, yeah, we can go put in an opportunity, or I can go put in an offer and no classroom may sign up for it. I can tell you, I mean, we've been doing this for 2.5 years. And one of the statistics I'm very proud to share is that we've filled 98% of all requests from both sides, industry and education. This is because we just don't let it be. We're not just developing a technology platform and throwing it out there saying, okay, now go forth and conquer people. That doesn't work. I mean, so and many times, from a professional side, I don't know about you, but if I were invited to go talk to a high school classroom, I'm always a little apprehensive, little nervous. I'm like, you can't blame people. They may have had a very bad high school experience,
Sure.
So they're like, oh my God, I left high school long back. I don't want to ever go there again, So, but so one of our main goals is to sort of help professionals get past that fear and say it's really not as hard as they think it is. You don't have, and this is one thing we always remind people, you do not have to teach the topic, okay? The teacher's going to teach the topic. You are invited to show them how you use it in your workplace. Right. And most of the time they're waiting for the Q&A, so you really don't have to do a whole lot to inspire the classroom. So, and we've come up with short videos of look how someone else in the same position has introduced themselves, and here's a framework. For example, we give them say 3 scenarios. You may be invited into a classroom to create topic relevance. Okay, how is geometry applied in the real world? And if you're an architect, you could easily talk about that. Show them some pictures, talk about some of the projects you're working on, and talk about ratios and proportions, whatever, right? So it's much more simpler to participate and contribute than people assume. And it's our job to show them how easy it is, right? So we have, and we're not, I mean, people always ask me, do you have a manual or a PDF, especially in education, right? We go to education conferences and we're the only booth that doesn't have much paper on our table. So we're all about short 30-second videos or 1-minute videos showing, okay, you've now signed up or you're thinking about signing up. See how other people have done this. If you're invited to create, talk about a topic and how you're using it, here are some tips on how you could do this. But on the other hand, there are other scenarios. You may be invited into a classroom to mentor students on a project. And that is always very exciting for professionals because now they get to hear from the kids. The kids show them what they're working on and ask them, hey, am I heading in the right direction? What do you think? What's your expert opinion, right? So, and then industry professionals can also participate in evaluations. Like classrooms are doing projects and they want kids to present to a panel of industry experts. So we provide the framework, we provide just-in-time information on how do you prepare to talk to a classroom, and we don't put anyone in the classroom for the first time before they actually do a mock session with our operations team. So we make sure that everyone is comfortable. But the thing is, but what we've seen this time and time again, even the most apprehensive professionals, once they do that one session, they're kind of hooked.
Right.
They're like, oh my God, that was so good. And look at all these questions and look at these kids. And I did something really good. And it's a great way. It's again, doing well by doing good, and we're just providing a channel to be more focused on skills-based volunteering rather than, just go do something with, to give back.
Sabari, as you were talking just now, I was thinking about some experiences I've had personally, and I've never spoken at the high school level, but I have spoken to college groups, and we've had the Q&A and very lively discussion, and I walk away with kind of a renewed fire for what I do.
Yes.
Their enthusiasm is so contagious, and I just wonder, have you heard similar feedback from professionals you work with?
Yeah, absolutely. After every live session, we send out a short survey, and this is the feedback we get all the time. Oh my God, that was much easier than I thought, and I never knew kids were this smart.
Yeah.
So and it's always like, and we always get this. How can I do more? Can I share this with others in my company? So. We have some amazing testimonials both from the classrooms and from the professionals.
Yep, absolutely. So Sabari, we are, of course, I can't believe it, but we are entering the last part of 2015, and a lot of companies are thinking about strategies for next year. So if someone were to ask you what would be the benefits of getting involved with something like Nepris for 2016, how would you respond to that?
So one thing I would say is, this topic better than me. This world of, there's so much content everywhere. And, the new generation of marketing is all about sharing good, relevant content. And that's easily said than done. How do you create relevant content, right? We talk about blogs and videos and stuff, but how do you write about something that strikes a chord with your audience, with the general public, without talking about you or your company, right? So that's subtle sort of influencing. And one of the main benefits for companies participating with Nepris is that we help. This is not the main mission of Nepris. I already talked about the main mission of Nepris is to sort of inspire the next generation, right? But the companies have a lot to gain from this platform is, we are automatically creating great stories. Every session is an amazing story because this is education, there are kids involved, and there's technology, there's innovative stuff, and you get to talk about what you do. So for companies, it's not just about, as a company, building your brand among the next generation, but we're creating valuable content. Every live session is recorded, and this recording is available for you to use for your marketing purposes or in your blogs or whatever. But it's not just that. There's always the question of, even if the company is committed to doing this, there is what is in it for me as an individual, right? And this is where our partnership with LinkedIn for Good. LinkedIn for Good started, when they started, they did a survey of all the top 10% of LinkedIn users, asking how many of them would be interested in skills-based volunteering. And I think they got some overwhelming 80% of people checked that box saying, yes, I am looking for such opportunities, right? So as a company, this is a great way to engage employees through education outreach, right? It is not just building the brand for the company. It's how do you help your employees build a personal brand? So you can go to your employees and say, hey, write a blog, this is a great way. But instead, if you're giving them an opportunity to connect with the classroom, they're talking about what they do, and then they come back and write about their experiences. That is a lot more relevant content that actually could be meaningful to a lot more people. And it's not your traditional marketing, right? But and then we do when we have people that are going above and beyond and doing a lot. We do this, but companies can do this too. They can create infographics. I mean, we did an infographic on Matthew Thompson from Principal Solar. He's done multiple sessions, and the infographic is a simple one. We say, okay, here's Matthew. This is the map of United States. Here's Matthew in Austin, Texas, and there's a dotted line to like 7 different states across the country. And he's reached 500 students. Total time spent 2 hours, and distance traveled 0 miles. It's a much more effective way of marketing the content, as opposed to saying this is what such and such company does, or oh God, and I am. I don't know, I get so many emails. Even this morning, I got an email about, I have emailed you 10 times and I haven't heard back from you. Do you want a reporting solution? I'm like, even if your reporting solution is the best thing since sliced bread, I do not want to talk to you, So it's like, seriously, you think you're going to really inspire somebody to actually respond to you with badgering them over email? So it's actually we're providing a channel to create good stories, to engage individuals in the company, right? To give them a platform to share their perspectives. So we're sort of helping hit a lot of objectives for a company, employee engagement, brand awareness, great content for content marketing, and helping meet all your corporate social responsibilities as well. So.
Wonderful. Well, Sabari, you've shared a tremendous amount of wonderful information about Nepris. If someone in our audience is interested in getting involved, how would they go about that?
It's very simple. You'll just go to nepris.com and click the join for free button and sign up as an industry professional. And when there is an opportunity, your skills will be matched and you'll get an email, or you can be proactive and go in and offer a session. For example, next week is Hour of Code. So we have tons of people offering their expertise for Hour of Code, like, Audible, AT&T, Randstad. Everyone has, if you go to nepris.com, look at all the industry offered sessions, it's all around Hour of Code. So you see there's another element of marketing here, because you're sort of leveraging the something that's Hour of Code, which has really created viral, momentum across the country, and you have an opportunity to participate during that week.
And Sabari, I just want to clarify, we've mentioned a lot of big brands, but really any size company is welcome to participate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that wasn't my intention.
No. I just wanted to clarify.
We have very, very small mom and pop stores. We've had a cafe in a small town here, connecting with their classroom that are close by, or we've had an ice cream shop in Dallas, Fort Worth, doing how to make ice creams. So there's and sometimes I wonder, we went through school and didn't do all these. We get really some strange requests like. How to make M&Ms, or so there's an opportunity for everyone. You don't even have to be part of a company as an individual. You want to give back, and the what is in it for the individual? Rachel, you know this better than I, that today's leaders are not people who are just great at their 8 to 5 jobs. It's people who are sort of building their profile through many other activities, right? If you go to LinkedIn, LinkedIn has introduced a section called volunteer experiences and causes. And I think it was LinkedIn that shared the data, like 41% of hiring managers, when all things equal, hire people with these community outreach experiences and opportunities. So you don't have to belong to a company. As an individual. You could spend 2 hours a year and you would make tremendous impact while building your own profile and making it much more of a well-balanced profile, right?
Yeah. So if people are interested, they can go to nepris.com, and then you are also active on social media?
Yes, we Twitter is Nepris app, NEPRISAPP. We do have a Facebook page. You name it. I'm sure we have an account on every social media platforms.
And you also conduct webinars. Is that correct?
Yes, every 2 weeks we have 30-minute webinars, just an informational webinar. People say, okay, go onto your website. I looked around. I like what I'm seeing. How can I learn more? You can sign up to one of these webinars, and that's all that information is available at nepris.com, just to get to know a little more about how everything works.
Well, wonderful. Well, Sabari, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your wonderful story. And I hope you get some good experts signing up as a result of this call.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, Rachel. Okay. And have a good holiday season.
I will. Thank you so much. You too.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Many thanks again to Sabari for joining us today. Again, that URL is nepris.com. That's NEPRIS. You can follow them on Twitter at @NeprisApp. And if you go to their website, you will also find links to their pages on Facebook and LinkedIn. And if you have any interest in this, I encourage you to log on and create a profile. You never know when a classroom out there might need your expertise. I've signed up myself, so we'll see if there are any kids out there who want to learn more about content marketing. Okay, if you have any questions or want to add to the conversation, I would love to hear from you, and I will give that contact info at the end of the podcast. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. We are in the holiday season, of course, which is a big season of giving. And one thing I encourage my clients to do is if you and your team have been involved in some kind of giving back activity this season, feel free to go ahead and share that with your audience. If you did, let's say if you did a volunteer day where you put together donations for families or participated in some other volunteer activity and you took photos or shot some video of that, feel free to share that on your blog and on your social media channels and to share it with your email list. And sometimes when I bring this up, they say, oh, well, we don't want to brag and we don't want to be capitalizing on something that we did from our hearts. And there's a way to do it. Okay, pardon my French here. There's a way to do it without being an asshole about it. You don't want to say, yes, we donated our time to help these poor, unfortunate souls. No, if you go out in a way that's not boastful or condescending, you can go out there and say, hey, our team had a great time volunteering at such and such a location, or bringing toys to the kids in the local hospital, whatever it was. If you just express joy and gratitude about what you were able to do, what you'll do is you'll accomplish two things. Number one, you're going to let your audience get to know you a little bit better, especially if you share the story of why this particular charity is important to you. If you're putting together gift packages for troops overseas, why that organization? Do you have a lot of veterans on your staff, or is the company owner's family a big military family? Share that story. And then number two, which I think is even more important that we may not think about, is that you help spread the word about the organization you helped. So if you were to go back to the troops example again, people might not know about this organization, and who knows, you may inspire others to get involved as well. Okay, campers, that's it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. I want to say thanks again to our special guest, Sabari Raja, co-founder and CEO of Nepris. Again, that website is Nepris, Nepris.com, and you can find them on Twitter at @NeprisApp, and you can also find them on Facebook and on LinkedIn. If you like what you've heard today, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. Also, if you want to learn more about content marketing, I invite you to check out our website, resonancecontent.com, where you'll also find our blog as well as links to all our social media pages and our Contact Us page. As always, I like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from Anna Quindlen. She once said, quote, "The thing that is really hard and really amazing is giving up on being perfect and beginning the work of becoming yourself." Unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.